Look, fixing your finances is one of those things everyone thinks they need to do in one giant burst of motivation. You know the feeling? You wake up overwhelmed, decide today is the day you finally get your life together, and you start trying to fix everything at once. Budgeting, saving, investing, cutting expenses, meal prepping, tracking every purchase, and then by dinner, you're exhausted, stressed, and somehow ordering takeout again. But here's the part nobody ever talks about. Most people don't fail because they're irresponsible or lazy. They fail because they tackle their money like a chaotic spring cleaning spree. Dump everything on the floor, panic halfway through, shove it all back into the closet, and say, "I'll deal with it later." The real problem isn't effort. The real problem is order. Trying to fix your finances out of sequence is like trying to build a house starting with the curtains. It doesn't work. But once you understand the right order, everything suddenly feels calm, doable, and strangely obvious. My name is Michael, and I help people understand money the way school never did. Simple, direct, calm, with just enough sarcasm to keep things interesting. Let's walk through the exact order to fix your finances, spoken the way you'd actually hear it, not the way a textbook would explain it. Point 1. Get completely honest about your situation. All right, we're starting with the part nobody wants to do, the part where you actually look at your money. Not the version in your head that you loosely estimate based on vibes and memory. The real, unfiltered, slightly embarrassing version that lives inside your bank statements. Most people think they know where their money goes, until you ask them for specifics. Then suddenly it's all, usually, kind of, like you're interviewing a witness who definitely knows something but doesn't want to admit it. So this step is simple. You pull up your last 90 days of spending. No judgment, no shame, no, I promise I never usually spend this much. Just data. Think of it like turning on the lights in a messy room. It's not pleasant, but at least now you can see what you're tripping over. And here's the funny thing. It only takes about 10 minutes for patterns to reveal themselves. You'll see the food delivery that somehow turned into a twice-a-week habit. The subscription you forgot existed but has been quietly charging you every month like a ninja. The random small purchases, $7 here, $12 there, that add up like compound interest in reverse. Death by 1,000 tiny swipes. Yes, this part feels uncomfortable. It's supposed to, but here's the emotional payoff. Once you see the truth, your stress actually goes down, because the unknown is always scarier than the numbers. Once everything is in front of you, in plain sight, you stop fighting invisible enemies and start dealing with reality. You cannot fix what you refuse to look at. Point 2. Build a bare-bones spending plan. Now that you know what's really going on, it's time to build what I call a bare-bones plan. And look, this is not the glamorous part. This is not the color-coded Pinterest budget with stickers and motivational quotes. This is the equivalent of switching your money into airplane emergency mode. Oxygen mask down, seatbelt tight, no nonsense. Right now, you're not budgeting for your ideal lifestyle. You're budgeting for stability, for the version of you that just needs to keep the lights on and not spiral every time an unexpected bill shows up. So we're talking rent, groceries, utilities, transportation, insurance, and whatever keeps you functional as a human being. The basics. Not brunch because you're treating yourself. Not the $27 protein bar subscription. Not the designer dog treats that somehow cost more per pound than salmon. This step is about finding one number, the cost of survival. The minimum you need to live without falling apart financially. And here's the cool part. Once you figure out that number, something shifts in your brain. You stop feeling lost. You stop making decisions based on vibes and fear. You finally know the minimum it takes to stay afloat. It's grounding, it's stabilizing, and it creates this weird sense of relief. Because even if everything went wrong, job loss, emergency, unexpected chaos, you'd still know exactly what it takes to keep your life standing. If your budget needs 20 categories, it's not a budget, it's a cry for help. Point 3. Stop the bleeding. Create a mini emergency fund. Before you pay off debt or invest a single dollar, you need one thing, a tiny cushion. This is the step everyone rolls their eyes at because it feels too small to matter. $500 to $1,000. People hear that and go, "Michael, that's nothing. That won't change my life." Yeah, and that's exactly the point. It's not supposed to change your life. It's supposed to protect it. Think of it like putting on a helmet before you ride a bike. Does the helmet make you faster? No. Does it make the ride smoother? Nope. Does it stop you from looking slightly ridiculous? Also no. But what it does do is prevent a bad situation from becoming a catastrophic situation. The helmet doesn't stop every crash. It just keeps the crash from ruining you. That's what this tiny emergency fund does. If your car battery dies, you're not panicking. If your kid gets sick and you have a $30 copay, you're not reaching for a credit card. If something dumb happens, like that mysterious charge you forgot about that hits your account at the worst possible time, it's annoying, but it doesn't wreck your whole month. Without this buffer, every inconvenience becomes debt. Every surprise becomes interest. Every small problem snowballs. With it, your progress actually sticks. Instead of collapsing, the second life gets inconvenient. This isn't a luxury. It's a seatbelt. Point 4. Kill high-interest debt. The painful stuff first. This is where we rip off the bandage. And honestly, it's the part most people secretly hope they can skip. Like maybe if they just squint hard enough, their debt will magically behave differently. But high-interest debt doesn't negotiate. It doesn't wait. It doesn't care how hard you're trying. It's the financial equivalent of a slow leak in your boat. You can row as hard as you want. You can sweat. You can panic. You can tell yourself you're doing your best, but you're still sinking. So the goal here is painfully simple. Attack the worst stuff first. Not the debt you like tackling. Not the one with the lowest emotional sting. The one that drains you the fastest. Sometimes that's the balance with the highest interest rate. Sometimes it's the one that keeps sending you those passive-aggressive notifications every week. Sometimes it's the card with a tiny balance that you want off your back instantly so you can breathe. The point isn't perfection. The point is momentum. You pick an order and you stick to it long enough to see actual progress rather than emotional chaos. Because sending $100 to a credit card where $80 goes straight to interest, that's not you being responsible. That's you paying rent on your past decisions. That's you treading water while the ocean rises. And emotionally, it's brutal. It makes you feel like you're working hard but going nowhere. And that feeling, more than the debt itself, is what keeps people stuck for years. If your debt is charging double-digit interest, it's not a debt, it's a parasite. Point 5. Build a real emergency fund, 3 to 6 months. Now that the worst debt is gone, we upgrade your safety net. This is the part where your financial life goes from fragile to strong, from I hope nothing goes wrong to I'm going to be fine either way. And that shift is massive. We're talking 3 to 6 months of expenses, not income. People always mess this up. They hear 3 to 6 months and think it means stacking half a year of their entire paycheck. No, we're talking the cost of survival. The number you calculated earlier, rent, food, utilities, transportation, the basics. This fund is the quiet superpower most people never build. And because they never build it, life feels like they're walking on a tightrope over a canyon. One gust of wind, one job loss, one medical bill, one blown tire, and they fall straight into chaos. But when you have a real emergency fund, the tightrope becomes a sidewalk. Suddenly, losing your job doesn't feel like the end of the world. It feels like time. Time to choose a better job instead of grabbing the first thing that pops up. Time to breathe. Time to think like a rational human instead of someone trying to defuse a bomb with no instructions. It also changes how you show up in your life. You leave toxic bosses faster. You negotiate salaries with confidence. You stop making decisions based on fear because you're no longer one inconvenience away from disaster. An emergency fund isn't money doing nothing. It's money protecting everything. Point 6. Fix your credit quietly. Credit repair isn't loud or dramatic. It's not some heroic journey with epic music playing in the background. It's boring, painfully boring, which is exactly why it works. People want the flashy fix, the overnight boost, the secret trick the banks don't want you to know. But the truth is way less exciting. Pay on time, keep your balances low. Stop opening new cards for a free t-shirt or some random sign-up bonus you didn't need in the first place. And then wait. And that last part, the waiting, is where most people fall apart. Credit is slow to punish and slow to reward. It's like a grumpy old man who finally decides he likes you after 6 months of consistent good behavior. But once it does improve, something powerful happens. Your entire cost of living drops. And you didn't even earn more money. You just stopped letting your past mistakes charge you interest every month. Think about it. The person with a 600 credit score doesn't just get denied for things. They pay more for everything. Higher insurance rates, higher car payments, higher deposits, higher interest on every loan. They're basically getting charged for existing. Meanwhile, the person with a 750 score glides through life, paying less for the exact same stuff. That's what good credit buys you, not bragging rights. Not a fancy card made of metal that weighs as much as a brick. It buys you discounts on life. It gives you access to better deals simply because you've proven you can be trusted. Good credit is a discount. Bad credit is a tax. Point 7. Automate everything. Let's be honest, humans are terrible at consistency, not because we're weak or lazy, but because life is chaotic. One bad day at work, one stressful morning, one "I'll do it later," and suddenly the thing you were supposed to do never happens. That's why automation is your new best friend, because it doesn't care how tired you are, how distracted you are, or whether you're in a good mood. It just happens. You automate savings. You automate bills. You automate investing. You automate every good financial behavior so you don't have to rely on sheer willpower, which we all know has the lifespan of a houseplant in a college dorm room. Here's the truth nobody likes admitting out loud. Your financial success depends far less on your motivation and far more on your defaults. If your default is money automatically moves where it's supposed to go, you win. If your default is "I'll do it manually when I remember," you're doomed the moment life gets busy, which is, always. Think about the difference. When savings are automated, they happen before you can talk yourself out of it. When bills are automated, you're never hit with late fees that feel like emotional punishment. When investing is automated, you don't have to magically find extra money at the end of the month because, let's be real, there's never anything left at the end of the month. Automation takes your flaws out of the equation. It protects your goals from you. And that's not an insult, that's a strategy. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems. Point 8. Start investing the slow, boring way. Investing should feel like watching paint dry. Slow, steady, a little boring. And that's exactly why it works. People think investing is supposed to be exciting. Charts, flashing numbers, dramatic music, opening 5 trading apps before breakfast. No, that's gambling with extra steps. Real investing is quiet. It's automatic contributions into index funds or retirement accounts, happening behind the scenes while you're living your life. You're not trying to outsmart the market. You're not trying to pick the next magical stock that can't lose. You're not following TikTok finance gurus telling you to buy something you can't even pronounce. You're simply participating in the market consistently. That's it. That's the whole strategy. And here's the part that shocks people. The less you try, the better you usually do. Every study shows that people who trade constantly, follow their emotions, and jump in and out of investments end up with worse results than the person who buys a boring index fund and forgets it exists for 20 years. The tortoise really does beat the hare, because the hare keeps checking Robinhood and panic selling every time the market sneezes. The beauty of slow investing is that it compounds quietly. 1 month of contributions doesn't change your life, but 120 months? That's a different story. Eventually, your money starts making more money than you do. And that's when investing feels less like watching paint dry and more like discovering cheat codes for adulthood. Wealth doesn't come from excitement. It comes from repetition. Point 9. Increase income after your base is solid. Once your foundation is stable, then you chase more income, not before. Before this point, trying to earn more money is like pouring water into a bucket with a giant hole in the bottom. You get a raise, and somehow you're still stressed. You pick up extra shifts, and your bank account still looks like it's starving. You start a side hustle, and the money disappears like it's allergic to staying put. Why? Because without a stable financial base, extra income just gets absorbed by chaos. But once the basics are in place, once you've got your emergency funds, your debt under control, your systems automated, now things get interesting. Now every extra dollar has a job. Side hustles aren't just hustle culture nonsense, they actually move you somewhere. Raises don't vanish into lifestyle inflation, they accelerate your investments. Promotions aren't just ego boosts, they become leverage for long-term wealth. And this is where skill upgrades matter. Taking a course, getting a certification, learning a new tool, all of that starts paying actual dividends when your financial life isn't on fire in the background. You're not desperate anymore, you're strategic, you're focused, you're building something instead of just surviving. And here's the part people almost never realize until they experience it. Earning more money feels different when you're financially stable. It feels lighter, cleaner, more purposeful. You're no longer chasing income out of fear. You're building it out of intention. Income is powerful, but only when you're ready for it. Point 10. Upgrade lifestyle slowly. Here's where most people sabotage themselves. They start making more money and instantly start spending more money, like the raise came with a mandatory lifestyle expansion contract. Suddenly, the apartment they were fine with last month is too small. The perfectly functional car is now embarrassing. Their wardrobe becomes not professional enough, and boom, the raise is gone before it even clears the bank. It's not that upgrading is wrong. It's that upgrading too fast traps you. It compresses your financial breathing room. It steals your future options. It turns, I finally make enough money into, why am I still stressed? And that's the part nobody expects. Because lifestyle inflation feels good in the moment. It feels like a reward, like you're finally doing what adults are supposed to be doing. But the feeling fades quickly, and the payments don't. When you upgrade slowly, everything changes. You give yourself time to decide whether you actually want the upgrade, or you were just tired, stressed, or comparing yourself to people online. You get to enjoy the extra income instead of immediately committing it to long-term expenses. You build investments, options, and savings before you build a more expensive life. Slow upgrading doesn't mean deprivation. It means intention. It means letting your financial foundation grow before you stack more weight onto it. It means choosing comfort without sacrificing long-term freedom. A slow upgrade now prevents a regret spiral later. Point 11. Build long-term wealth. At this stage, investing becomes part of your identity. It's not something you try to remember or pick up when motivation strikes. It's something you do the same way you brush your teeth or lock your door at night. Automatic, non-negotiable. You're not trying to get rich quick anymore, but that phase ends once you realize how exhausting it is to chase the next big thing. Instead, you're building long-term wealth that compounds quietly in the background while you live your actual life. No drama, no guessing, just steady growth that feels almost effortless. The boring stuff pays for your future freedom. Point 12. Protect everything you built. Last step, protection, insurance, beneficiaries, wills, all the boring adult responsibilities that nobody wakes up excited to handle. This is the part of personal finance that doesn't feel rewarding, doesn't feel productive, and definitely doesn't feel fun. But here's the truth. One unexpected event should never be able to erase 20 years of work, and without protection, it can. Most people think, I'll get to that later. Later becomes next year. Then next year becomes when things calm down. But things never calm down. Life is unpredictable, and that unpredictability is the exact reason this step matters so much. A single accident, medical emergency, lawsuit, or tragedy can financially devastate someone who spent years doing everything right, saving, investing, building stability, simply because they didn't finish the final step. Protection doesn't make you paranoid. It makes you stable. It means your family knows what happens if something goes wrong. It means your assets are safe. It means the wealth you're building doesn't just survive you. It survives bad luck, bad timing, and bad circumstances. Wealth is not just built, it's protected. And now, the big picture. Fixing your finances isn't chaotic, it's structured. There's a sequence, a calm, logical order that makes everything feel less overwhelming once you see it laid out. You start with an honest look, then a bare-bones plan, a mini emergency fund. You kill the high-interest debt. You build a full safety net. You repair your credit. You automate. You invest. You increase your income. You upgrade slowly. You build long-term wealth. And finally, you protect it. Follow the order, and your financial life becomes calm, predictable, and actually kind of peaceful. You stop feeling like money is chasing you. You stop feeling like you're behind. You stop feeling like everything is urgent. And most importantly, you don't need to look rich. You need to stop being stressed.